Donald Trump, who's been telling military top brass in the United States that people are now flocking to join the US military services because he has restored their reputation. It was a meandering speech to generals, admirals, other big figures who flew home at short notice to a very special meeting just outside Washington. Trump also appeared to suggest in his speech that the military had important work to do fighting enemies within the United States. Well, watching me here in the studio, watching that with me in the studio was our international affairs editor, Kethevane Gorjestani. Hi, Kethevane. Hard to know where to begin. A huge amount covered. Very, very meandering. More so than usual. I don't know if there will be comments about that. And quite difficult to find any thread. You know, these people flew home for this meeting, which was billed as a strategy meeting. What was but noticeable was this a focus here and there on the idea of the military in the US having a lot of work to do in civil disturbances in the inner cities. What did you make of that?
Well, look, let's first start with the format and the fact that hundreds of top military leaders from all around the world were given a few days' notice to fly home to sit down and listen to the speech that we've just been listening to, which is actually ongoing. So it's nearly 1 hour now. It's really the embodiment of this meeting. Could have been an email that a lot of people who work in offices know about, but it costs millions of dollars to get all of these people into one room. So that's for the sort of format. Then Donald Trump, we know that he goes off prompter regularly, but this speech was particularly hard to follow. It was going all over the place. We sort of he mentioned Biden's auto pen, the Gulf of America. He mentioned tariffs. He went back to Canada as the 51st state. He talked a lot about things that had nothing to do with the military. Now, to get to your question and the little part that had to do a little bit with policy and the U.S.'s defense policy, it was interesting because while he mentioned the U.S. military abroad in a way to celebrate some of his accomplishments. We had once again the touting of the 7 wars that he's ended, and now he's saying that we're close to ending another one, talking about Gaza and Israel. He mostly focused on, as you said, the enemy within. The focus for him of the military is no longer abroad. It has to be to defend physically within the United States. It starts with the drug traffickers that are coming and bringing drugs into the United States. We saw the strikes on those supposed boats of Venezuelan drug dealers. You have protecting the actual border, and we saw him celebrating the fact that the border crossings have dropped to almost nothing now that he's in office. And finally, he talked about how the military and federal forces were to be deployed in the United States and have been deployed in the United States to bring security to American cities. And that is something that has been at the heart of some disagreement within the Department of Defense, or the Department of War, as they call it now, when it comes to writing the new national defense strategy, because Pete Hegseth and his advisors want to focus just on that. The fact that the U.S. military is better used at home than it is abroad, and there are a lot of top military brass who don't see eye to eye. They might see eye to eye on other things, on making America great again and all of that, but they still believe that the threat is much bigger coming from outside than it is coming from inside.
That's really significant then, this shift, which you said Pete Hegseth, Defense Secretary or head of the Department of War as it now is, talked about. He made quite a few concrete announcements as opposed to Trump, didn't he? Give us a sense of what he said, because he spoke just before Trump.
He spoke just before Trump, and he was supposed to be the only one to speak, and Donald Trump sort of stole the limelight from Pete Hegseth, who, as a former TV anchor, is used to being the one who has the spotlight of the camera. But his focus was on what he called the people and the culture. And what you saw in Pete Hegseth's speech was really a sort of cleaning up of what they see as the years of a decay. That was a word that he used, fixing decades of a decay. He said personnel is policy, and he made that very clear. He decided to move on from what he called the woke department to bring back the war ethos, as they call it, in the Department of War. And what were the targets of Pete Hegseth? It was not about military strategy. It was about people and culture. People, we're talking about the sort of physical abilities of the soldiers. That's how specific it was. He talked about the fact that they were going to go back for everyone to the highest male standards only. He has had this battle against the fact that supposedly the military and the soldiers no longer had the sort of highest standard because it had somehow been made much lower because they wanted to bring in women, and that women, by definition, according to Pete Hegseth, can't reach most of the time those male-only standards. He also talked about the physical appearance of the soldier. He said no more beardos, so all the beards have got to go. No more fat generals. He said soldiers should not be fat, and the top military brass, and he looked at the room in front of him, said, you guys should not be fat, so everyone needs to pass those physical training elements. So it was very specific and very small details if you think about the broader military policy of the United States of America in the world. He also went back to some of the things where he had previously dismissed this idea that they've now removed the ability of transgender people to serve in the military. He said, no more dudes in dresses, quote, we are done with that shit. Those were the terms of the U.S. Secretary of War. So really a focus on the people and the fact that they want to get rid of anything that resembles positive discrimination, and they want to make it race blind, gender blind, and that should be a military about merit. And then when it comes to the culture, he talked about some of the facts where people have gone after generals or leadership for toxic leadership. He said the toxic leadership is not having those things follow through, the laws, the rules of the army. And he said, we're going to review the definition of what it means to be toxic, what it means to have bullying, what it means to have hazing. And the final words, and I will end with that, which were probably a little bit worrisome to some people in that room. If the words I am speaking today make your heart sink, then the right thing to do is to resign.
Wow, extraordinary. Huge change in culture then at the Department of War under Hegseth. Thank you very much, Kethevane Gorjestani, of course, there with that insight.